if the relationship isn't good, the data doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can be the smartest guy or girl in the room in terms of knowing what's going on with product, what's going on with market, what's CMS doing, what's Medicare's, new, rate adjustment going to be. But if you have a crappy relationship with the agent or agency you're talking about, they don't care. Good morning, insurance agents of the senior market. Welcome back. It's February 3rd. It's bright and early in the morning. Welcoming back Josh Smith. It's been a little while since we've had you with us.
It has been. It's been a little while, but it's going to be back in the hot seat.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's something interesting before we get into the insurance stuff. We've got a packed agenda today that we wanted to talk through. I keep getting comments on our YouTube videos about why are we wearing masks.
Oh gosh, yes. Those are the interesting ones.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's always like one of the first ones as well. Like when you post like the video live, it's like one of the first comments will be like, why are these people wearing masks? Like even if you do like your solo stuff, like it even get those questions on there too. But you gotta stay safe, man. It's COVID-19 times, and it's not like you're the only one in this room.
Yeah.
You've got yourself, you got me, you've got Ryan, our producer. So we're all just trying to get in this together and be as safe as possible.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I want to be clear. I'm not super concerned about Josh, but if Ryan goes down, this whole video production thing is toast.
Exactly.
Like we can't do this without Ryan. So Josh and I are wearing our masks in here because we got to protect Ryan to make sure we keep bringing this great content. If you want to make sure that you're still getting it, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so that you are alerted, bing, anytime we put something out. So with that, we were talking a little bit this morning about a couple of news articles we see, because I know that you and I are both big readers in terms of like what's going on in the market. And one of the things that it made me think about was when you're here, okay, are you thinking more about data or relationships?
When I'm in my office and I'm making my calls, I would say 60 to 70% of the time I'm focused on the relationship with that agency that's on the other line. It's kind of been instilled with me ever since I've been introduced to working at Neishloss and Fleming that those relationships are bread and butter in this world, and it's so important that the person that you're talking to trusts you and thinks that you're knowledgeable on the subject that you're about to discuss. Yeah. So I would say it's 60 to 70% relationship, and then the other is just luck in knowing what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean for me, because I started thinking about this because the articles that we were talking about were kind of data heavy, and it kind of put that idea in my head. And I know for me, if the relationship isn't good, the data doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, you can be the smartest guy or girl in the room in terms of knowing what's going on with product, what's going on with market, what's CMS doing, what's Medicare's new rate adjustment going to be. But if you have a crappy relationship with the agent or agency you're talking about, they don't care.
Exactly.
So. And that's the thing. Like, I try not to spiral into the matrix. Like, I'm trying not to be Neo, like plugging myself in. I thought about that because Matrix Revolution was on a couple nights ago, and I was like, wow, I haven't watched this movie in a while.
I haven't seen the second and third Matrix. I think I've probably only ever seen them once. But I've watched the first one like a half dozen times at least.
Yeah. No, if you think about the Matrix now versus when it was shot, like it's really cool stuff. But like that was the thing. Like, it's the I can't be so plugged into the data that we're not communicating. But you got to know what you're talking about when you get back to that relationship.
Exactly. I mean, you have to warm up to your audience as well. If you come in swinging with just here's numbers and figures and charts and graphs, you're going to lose your audience. Their eyes are just going to glaze over. But if you introduce yourself and talk to them and learn more about the person on the other end of the phone, then you can start peppering in some of these details and some of like, hey, we're noticing that there's some big impacts on Medicare Advantage plans in your market. Let's talk about those. Let's see what's going on.
And I think that comes back to our agents as well, that are watching the video today, that, if you're working with your client and you are so focused on like spreadsheeting out the line items from, here's United, here's Aetna, here's Humana, here's Anthem, here's WellCare, here's Centene, here's whatever Blue Cross plan is in your market. Like if that's the focus as opposed to just like looking at them and saying, what is important to you?
Exactly.
What are the things you're concerned about? Like it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's all part of that, building the trust with either your agent relationships or your client relationships, and making sure that they understand that you're doing everything on their best interest, and then talking through anything that you want to present that makes their life a little bit easier.
Yeah. All right. So do you want to talk about those 2 articles we were talking about the other day?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So the first article that Josh and I were kind of kicking around there was an article posted on January 30th in the American Journal of Managed Care, which I particularly really like this because I think they bring an interesting perspective on what's going on in the Medicare market. And a big focus of the article was that more Americans now are choosing Medicare Advantage during this kind of COVID period than we're really doing before. Was that surprising to you, or did that kind of fit with what you thought anecdotally was happening?
I think it fits anecdotally with what's happening. I mean, when you sign on to a Medicare Advantage plan, you're saying, yes, I would like to have a managed care plan. I would like more bells and whistles, and I want to feel like my healthcare matters to someone. And I feel like you don't really get that with a Medicare Supplement. With a Medicare Supplement, you get the bare bones, you get the basics, you get everything covered, no problem. But you don't get the extra feel-good, benefits that you normally would with a Medicare Advantage plan. Yeah. And so with all these carriers saying, hey, when you go to your doctor, you can, get your telehealth appointment for no cost at all, and you can get all these benefits, and if you get taken into the hospital, we're going to give you some meals afterwards once you get discharged. There's a lot of things that are involved in those Medicare Advantage plans that really make it worthwhile in this COVID-19 environment that we're all in right now.
So I remember when COVID first started happening, I was thinking to myself, like it's like when we were in chemistry class when we were kids, and like we'd have the scale with two dishes on the side. I was trying to kind of balance out like what I thought consumer thought process was going to be and how it was going to work.
Sure.
So on one side, I thought, okay, if you're a T65 or you're someone with a valid election period, you can choose MA or Med Sup. Like on this side, it's like, well, I'm concerned about my costs. Yeah. Like there's a much higher likelihood I could be going into the hospital because of this condition. Okay, so maybe I want to go Med Sup because that means I've got less financial exposure. So I'm thinking, okay, that's a little heavier on the Med Sup side. On the other side, and what really kind of developed, I think, over the course of spring into summer into fall, was the carriers on the Medicare Advantage side responding and saying, hey, any of your cost sharing that's even remotely related to COVID, we're not even going to charge you for it.
Yep.
And, oh, by the way, do you know we've had this telehealth benefit that we've been talking to you about for, 3 years that no one ever used? And I don't want to say no one, but for the most part,
right.
People weren't using telehealth in any sort of like real scale on Medicare Advantage plans until this happened.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I can be on the Medicare Supplement side, but and yeah, my costs are covered, but I don't have telehealth access and some of the other additional kind of post-hospitalization benefits. And on this side, it's like, well, hey, if I'm on a Medicare Advantage plan, I'm not going to pay for COVID-related stuff anyway.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, I've got greater access so that I can communicate with a physician and not have to leave my house.
Right. It's so good. It really is a holistic approach to someone's healthcare with those Medicare Advantage plans, and I think it makes the people feel good about the plans that they are signing up for sure.
One of the things that I found to be interesting about the COVID-specific benefit information, and for both of the articles we're going to talk about today, we're going to put the links in the description so you can go read them for yourself, because I think they're really good reads. So when that all kind of started, like I can remember the first carrier that came out with it, we're like, oh man, holy, look at this. Like, so such and such carrier, they're not going to charge any co-pays for COVID.
Yep.
And then it was all of a sudden like bing, 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 bing. Like everybody kind of followed in.
For sure.
And I don't know that that's going to be a driver of switching plans.
Yeah.
But I think what it may be, and what this polling information that the American Journal of Managed Care was sharing in their article was, it may be a real big driver of people maybe leaving a Med Sup to go to MA, or during their T65 period being like, I think I want MA as opposed to Med Sup because there's maybe a little bit more on the table, even though, MA was probably doing a little bit better than Med Sup nationally anyway.
For sure. It's always, That's the importance of having an agent when you're turning 65, isn't it? It's just, hey, let's talk about the value of a Medicare Advantage plan. Let's talk about the value of a Medicare Supplement plan and really figuring out what is truly best for the client. If they choose that Medicare Advantage plan, they can still go back to a Medicare Supplement depending on the situation and underwriting and all of that, and vice versa for Medicare Advantage. But having that choice every year really kind of gives the power to the beneficiary to figure out which plan is going to fit their need and really help the agent kind of engage in that decision-making process.
Well, and I think that underscores too in kind of looking at that polling data from folks who they were trying to contact post AEP. If you're an agent out there and you're meeting with consumers, either people turning 65, people who can potentially use the OEP, any of those sorts of valid election periods, you need to know what the various carriers in your area offer in terms of COVID-specific benefits, as well as on telehealth, because this data is showing us that that's mattering to people in terms of their buying decisions. And to be fair to all of our agents out there that may not be up to date on that stuff, if you had asked me pre-AEP, I would have just been like, this is a non-factor. This is not going to drive enrollment. Yeah. It's premium, PCP, are my doctors in the network? How do you cover my drugs?
Yeah.
And that's really would have been the start point. But I think this information is really important to our agents who are going out in appointments right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to start thinking to yourself. Have you ever used a telehealth communication or anything like that?
Yeah. I've used it a couple times. And I'll be honest, I had never used telehealth prior to March.
Yeah, me too. I'm in that same situation. I've never once considered it. I've always been the guy that I go to like my yearly physical, and that's pretty much it. But I really wasn't feeling that well, back in, I think it was like December, maybe late November. And so I just used a telehealth from our insurance covers and, called the doctor, and they pretty much set me up with everything that I needed. It was great.
Well, the best telehealth story that I've got recently was actually for one of my children. So it was a scenario where she's complaining that her throat hurts. I'm kind of doing the flash of the light in the back of the throat. Do I see anything that looks super creepy in there that necessitates this? And I wasn't quite sure, but I'm like, I'm not a physician. What am I going to do? Go on WebMD and start looking at pictures?
No.
So I was like, wait, telehealth. And we ended up doing this video call. And so as opposed to calling the doctor's office, setting an appointment, waiting there for 30 minutes, going back into the waiting room, waiting another 15 minutes, doctor's in for 3 minutes, look, yeah, you got strep throat, wait another 20 minutes for your prescription thing, it was amazing how it worked. It was, and I don't know if your experience was like this, but it was we're video chatting, talking to my daughter, turn the camera around, shine the light in there, looking. Yeah, you got strep throat. I don't even need to, swab you.
Right.
I'm calling your prescription in right now. And literally 15 minutes later, bing, on my phone, it's Rite Aid, which is our pharmacy by my house, saying, hey, we've got a prescription ready for your child. Come and pick it up.
Yeah.
Go through the drive-thru.
Exactly. And the more of these success stories that come out there, the more they get into the ears of the seniors that are on the Medicare plans, and the more that they trust this. Yeah. It really is a great tool and resource, not even just for folks like you and me, but for everyone that has the opportunity to be on a plan that offers telehealth.
Yeah. Well, and thinking about maybe why people didn't trust telehealth for a long period of time, I'm used to FaceTiming people.
Yeah.
But if that's not really your MO, it's okay, I'm gonna hit this something on my phone or on my laptop or on a gateway desktop computer on somebody's desk, and you're gonna trust it. Is that a real person?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's so much different now because we have tools and resources like Zoom and GoToMeeting and Microsoft Teams or anything like that. So we've become, as a society, more knowledgeable on video chat and talking to someone via a computer screen or even a telephone screen for that matter. So the more that kind of incorporates itself into our society right now, the more people are going to start trusting those technologies in the future, especially with their healthcare. Yeah.
All right. So last point on the AJMC article before we kind of move into the other one. Does this number surprise you? Okay, of the people that they polled that were on original Medicare.
Yeah.
Okay, 45% of them moved to Medicare Advantage.
See, like, that's so crazy. Like, is that 45% of people that just weren't on anything for any particular reason? Like, no Med Sup, no PDP for, like, standalone?
It didn't indicate that.
Okay.
So that could be a mix of people that were A and B only.
Yeah.
Could be A and B with Medicaid. Could be A and B and a sup.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that, I mean, and I know that traditional Medicare is perfectly fine for some segment of the market out there, but 45% switching over to a Medicare Advantage, it's something that I think should have happened a long time ago for probably a lot of these folks of choosing, a better resource for them.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the difficulty with data sometimes is, like, how many people did you poll? Where were you polling?
Yeah.
Like, if you poll people in Western Pennsylvania, like in the greater Pittsburgh market, like where we are right now, you think about the MA penetration here. It's huge.
Sure.
If you're polling people in, let me think about a town that's like got a decidedly, but like Chicago 5 years ago, where it was at like 10%.
Right.
Like you're getting totally different answers.
Exactly.
So I don't know specifically that what was the polling sample geographically, where were they doing it, but. To poll any group of individuals who were on original Medicare pre-AEP and post-AEP 45% of the switch, that's I think a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. Anywhere that you go, if you say 45% of this population switch from traditional Medicare over to a Medicare Advantage, I think that's significant for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree too. All right, so the second article that we were talking through was on healthcare finance, which I really like their stuff too. They kind of take a more like dollars and cents approach to some of the healthcare news, as opposed to kind of some of the other publications we read. But their article on January 28th kind of covered a number of subjects. Where there were two pullouts for me in terms of looking at it. The first was they cited some data that of the people that they were polling that were on Medicare Advantage to begin the AEP, 25% of them kept their MA plan but switched doctors.
That's crazy. Like, how often do we have conversations either about agents or with agents with one of the top things that they say is how little their clients want to switch their docs during AEP to switch to another plan.
I hear it all the time.
It's nonstop. So to hear and see that those figures are out there, so even without them switching plans, they are switching docs. Do you think that rings true back to like a telehealth situation where, if one doc is embracing technology a little bit more or just being more kind and courteous during these COVID-19 times, that they're willing to make those changes?
I think there's a COVID impact there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because, I like if you had said to me 25% of the people polled switched their provider during AEP, what I would have said was, oh, well, that had to be because they switched MA plans.
Yeah.
And their original doctor was not in the network of the new plan.
Right.
But the new plan was so great that they're like, okay, I'm willing to switch providers. Like, that would have seemed a little bit of a stretch to me. But I could have bought, like, that would have seemed more reasonable than I'm on, United Healthcare Medicare Complete Plan 1. All right. And I'm keeping that product. And my doctor's still in the network, but I'm switching docs. Like that seemed odd. But in terms of what maybe the COVID impact could be, it very well could be, technological access, where maybe Dr. A is not doing telehealth visits. You got to come in. Yeah. Or B, maybe this consumer went to their existing provider during the AEP or during COVID. And said, wow, I don't like how stuff's running here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting in a waiting room that's packed full of people. They're telling me my appointment time. They're trying to say that they're gapping the appointments so that, you don't have people on top of each other, but I still feel like I'm on top of each other. I just can't continue to do this.
Right.
Like, that could have been it too. I don't know, but the number seems so high to me.
Like when I saw that number in the article, I was just kind of shocked. Like, I don't understand how that could have happened when, it's been for years we've had those same conversations. Clients aren't willing to move their docs. Oh
God, we hear that all the time. I mean, think about how many times just in the time that you and I have worked together that we've had a Medicare Advantage plan that has expanded into a new area. And any time that you have an expansion area or a new carrier entering, it's the providers that usually are the difficulty point because they got to spend time building their network in that area.
Exactly.
And we always project that sales for an expansion plan are going to be much lower than you think the benefits would indicate.
Right.
Because the agents get to the kitchen table and they go over the benefits and the consumer's like, yeah, this seems pretty cool. Like, I like the premium. I like the specialist copay. Hey, the diabetic supply cost really good, whatever it is.
Right.
And then they get to the docs.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you don't have Dr. Bob, you don't have Dr. Gladys, you don't have Dr. Jim.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not switching docs out.
Right. And maybe it's something that has to do with, the benefits that are being presented by the carrier as well. Like, hey, you can, even if your doc wasn't in network, you still want to have all the benefits that is useful for this plan itself. So, the importance of all of the extra value adds in the plan may be conducive to also wanting to switch your doc as well to make it more, if it's closer to home, finding a doc, and or just depending on where your area is, there's a lot of benefits just to be had for those Medicare Advantage plans.
So one other idea I had, and tell me if you think that if this is just outlandish. Like sometimes I say things that are completely outlandish and crazy. But I was thinking about transportation benefit.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it that potentially that you had Laverne Wozniak, okay, and she's, ordinarily her doctor that she's been seeing for a very long time, she needs to take a car ride to.
Yeah.
But she can't drive anymore, so she takes transportation. Maybe with COVID she doesn't feel comfortable taking transportation.
Right.
And is like, okay, well, if I can't take the transportation benefit in my plan because I don't feel comfortable with it, do I need to find a doctor I can walk to down the street?
I mean, especially in environments where are densely populated, like urban environments, you're going to find a lot of, local mom and pop shops that you can easily walk to. I mean, it's going to be more difficult during, in suburban environments, but definitely that could certainly make a difference to switch your docs.
Yeah, could be. So the last item from that healthcare finance article that I thought was kind of interesting that I want to talk through, they also said that 75% of the people that they polled would really like to have rewards for certain activities from their plan. So, like, hey, I got that cancer screening that you recommended I take. Hey, I went for my annual wellness visit. Hey, I used to smoke 2 packs of Marlboro Reds a day. I quit doing that. Like,
right.
The kind of reward aspect to the plan. I guess it sounds good in theory. Like, yeah, reward me for this stuff.
Sure.
Like, how possible do you think that is?
I think
for the plans to respond.
I think that you can do things. I think that Humana is already doing some cool things like that with their Humana 360 program that they do actually reward some of their members for, which is great. But I think like that whole gamification that's happening in our society, hey, you're going to get points and you're going to get bonuses for doing X, Y, or Z. It gives people, that quick shot of dopamine in their system saying, hey, well, I did something, I get points, and then I get to redeem those points. I think we're going to start seeing that a lot more through the Medicare Advantage plans for sure.
Is that sort of like my login bonus to Mario Kart Tour?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's like the notification I get on my phone, like, bing, you haven't logged into Mario Kart today. Log in now to get your 5 rubies.
Yes, exactly. I mean, like the points are inconsequential, but seeing those numbers go up, or like, hey, here's your assignment for the day, you're so much more likely to start doing that because you are getting rewarded for something or the other.
See, I could see that more with maybe individual health plans or group.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with kind of younger people that kind of are more used to that type of online experience.
Sure.
Now, granted, I know I've talked a bunch of times about how the seniors today are not the seniors who there were when you entered the business, let alone when I entered the business. But I think about that. I'm like, would my dad be motivated to go get a cancer screening or a prostate screening to get some sort of reward? I don't know if that's the case. Maybe I should ask him.
It's always so different, and it's always like something that I have to take a step back to and realize not everyone's going to be like my dad, and not everyone's going to be like my grandma. But there are people out there, and a ton of seniors that are embracing those methods of technology. And if you can at least turn one person on, you are sure that enough that you can turn more and more on. So maybe
but 75%. If that number had been like 20%, I was like, okay, I can see that. But it was like 75% of the people that they polled said, I really want rewards for these activities and would choose a plan because of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's nuts. Well, I'm very interested to see how the how the different carriers take that feedback and see what they do in the next few years to come.
Yeah, well, if there's any carrier that I think will be the first one to really get this right, it's Anthem. Because they were the ones who I think really, and to their credit, and I know I've said this multiple times on this show, because I think what they're doing is really cool. But with their choose your own adventure, like ancillary benefits thing, all of those. They took the increased kind of flexibility and ancillary benefits that CMS gave them, and they jumped on top of it with the most creative idea. Yeah. So, if there's anyone that's going to come out with an app where, you start getting screenings or quitting smoking or wellness visits, and your phone starts going bing, bing, bing. Here's your points.
Yeah.
Double your points for a prostate screening today.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get, cool little Anthem tchotchkes. I don't know what it could be, but I'm sure that they'll figure something out. I think Anthem gave me a bottle opener and pizza cutter for one of their meetings at some point. I would love to get one of those as well.
Was that when we were in New Orleans?
I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah. It was either New Orleans or in Cleveland.
They've got cool swag.
They do.
Yeah, their swag game is really high. So our friends at Anthem, we are telling you, the swag you're bringing to the table for your agents and your members, tip top. Keep that up.
Yeah.
So this has been great to have you back.
Absolutely, it's been super good. I've really enjoyed being back here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we will see you again on Friday morning, February 5th at 7 a.m. This has been Josh, I'm Bill, and this has been Near and Far. We'll see you later this week.